Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Ghost FM USA. Before we start, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment with where you're from and what time you're watching. And I'm an AI narrator, so if I mispronounce anything, please forgive me. Now, let's begin. I had just gotten into college back then. My hometown was around 25 miles away from campus. So because of classes and private tutoring sessions, I had to move into a student boarding house near the college. The place I moved into was a 3-story off-campus house, about a mile away from campus. I got a really nice room on the second floor. My roommate's name was Emily. Well, technically everyone called her Emma, but we got close so fast that I usually called her Em. She studied with me, and just like me, she was new there too. The two of us decorated the room together. Right beside the door was my study desk. Behind my desk were our 2 beds side by side, and next to the bed was Emily's study table. On the north side of the room, there were 2 large windows. Whenever you opened them, you could see the night sky clearly, and a little farther away stood 2 tall palm trees swaying in the wind. Over time, Emily and I became really close. 6 months passed peacefully. Then that night happened. One evening, after finishing college and tutoring classes, I came back to the boarding house around sunset and saw Emily packing clothes into her backpack. I looked at her and said, "Wait, you're going home?" The sky outside already looked terrible. Dark clouds, heavy wind. Emily nodded slowly. "Yeah, my dad called me. He wants me home tonight." I asked, "Did something happen?" She shook her head. "No, nothing serious. He just told me to come home." I told her to be careful. "Hurry and get there before the storm starts. Looks like we're gonna get hit hard tonight." She smiled softly. "Yeah, I'll be careful." We talked for a few more minutes, and then she left for home. But after she walked out of the room, I suddenly looked toward the window. I still don't know why, but sitting on one of the palm trees was a massive eagle, and it was staring directly at me. Not moving, just watching. I immediately walked over and shut the windows. But right as I reached the frame, I felt something. A warm breath against the back of my neck. I froze instantly. A strange fear started building inside me. It felt like someone or something was standing very close behind me. A few moments later, the rain started pouring heavily outside. I thought to myself, Emily probably already got on a bus by now. Trying to distract myself, I sat down at my desk to study. I had just opened my literature book when the power suddenly went out. The entire room became pitch black. At the same time, thunder exploded outside. But even through the storm, I could hear something else. A dog crying, not barking, crying, long, painful sounds. Slowly, I walked to the window and opened it slightly. Outside in the rain, a dog was standing in the street, staring directly at my room while crying nonstop. Then lightning flashed across the sky, and in that split second, I saw the eagle again. Still sitting on that same tree, still staring at me. A terrifying feeling wrapped around my entire body. I slammed the window shut immediately. My hands were shaking at that point. I lit a candle and sat back down to study. Then suddenly, someone knocked on the door, and a voice called out softly, "Rachel, Rachel." I walked to the door and opened it. It was Emily, completely soaked from the rain. I instantly felt relieved and said, "Oh my God, thank God you came back." Why'd you come all the way back in the storm?" She stepped inside, shivering. There weren't any buses on the road. Then she looked at me and said quietly, "I'm really hungry." I nodded. "Okay, go change first. You can eat my dinner." For some reason, I suddenly didn't feel hungry anymore. Emily changed clothes, then sat beside my desk with candle and started eating my food quietly. I turned back toward my books, and honestly, I finally started feeling calm again. Even the crying dog outside had stopped. Then, bang, bang, bang. Another knock at the door, this time louder. I frowned. Slowly, I walked toward the door and opened it, and there stood Emily, again, soaked in rain, breathing heavily. I felt my entire body go numb. I stared at her and whispered, Then I slowly turned around toward the desk behind me. Nobody there. The food was untouched, exactly where I had left it. Emily looked confused. "Yeah, what happened?" I couldn't find any ride home. The storm got too bad. At that point, fear completely took over me. But then I tried convincing myself maybe I was hallucinating, maybe stress, maybe fear, because I clearly remembered Emily coming back earlier. I remembered talking to her, watching her eat. Then suddenly, Emily said, "I'm freezing. I'm gonna sleep." She wrapped herself in a blanket and laid down on the bed. Meanwhile, my brain completely stopped working. My hands and legs were trembling uncontrollably. And then, bang, 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 another knock, this time even more desperate. Terrified, I walked to the door again and opened it. Standing outside was Melissa from the next room. She looked horrified, almost crying. She grabbed my arm tightly and said, "Rachel, Emily's gone." My heart stopped. Melissa's voice kept shaking as she spoke. She got hit by a bus near the old movie theater by the intersection. Everybody's going there right now. It felt like I got hit by electricity. I stuttered, But Emily is..." Melissa interrupted me immediately. "Come on, hurry." She grabbed my hand and started pulling me outside. At that exact moment, I looked back toward the bed, and what I saw nearly killed me from fear. Sitting upright on the bed was Emily, but her entire body was covered in blood. One side of her skull was crushed inward horribly. Her face looked twisted and unnatural. And those eyes, bright red, staring directly at me. I ran out of the room instantly. Outside, people were already heading toward the old theater through the rain. My entire body felt numb as I followed them. When we reached the intersection, I saw a crowd gathered around a body lying in the street. And there she was, Emily, lifeless, her skull crushed exactly the same way I had seen inside the room. Then suddenly, my eyes moved toward one of the palm trees nearby, and I saw her again. Emily was sitting on the tree branch, looking directly at me, blood dripping slowly from her body, her hair hanging down on both sides of her neck, and those horrible red eyes locked onto mine. I started shaking violently. Melissa asked me what was wrong, but I couldn't even speak. I just raised my finger and pointed toward the tree. But nobody could see anything. Nobody except me. I could still see Emily staring at me with those blood-red eyes. After that, I don't remember anything. Everything slowly faded to black. The next morning, I woke up in Melissa's room. My family was there. Everyone from the boarding house was there too, and I told them everything. Every single thing that happened that night. Not long after that, I left that boarding house forever and moved into the college dorms instead. This happened many years ago, when Mansour was around 11 or 12 years old. He still remembers it very clearly, like it happened yesterday. His father was a school teacher. At that time, their family had a small tin roof house in the village area, but nobody really lived there permanently. Most of the time it stayed locked because they all lived in the city. Only sometimes they would visit that house. Not very far from that place lived Mansour's older sister and her husband. One day, Mansour's brother-in-law invited him to come and stay for a few days. Mansour agreed because it had been a long time since he went anywhere. His brother-in-law was a church teacher, a religious scholar, respected in their area for his knowledge. When Mansour arrived at his sister's house, it was a rainy season. That evening, after dinner, Mansour and his brother-in-law decided to visit the old family house nearby. Even though nobody lived there anymore, relatives still live around the area. Uncles, aunts, neighbors, people Mansour knew since childhood. So when they reached there, Mansour sat with everyone, talking, laughing, sharing old memories. Time slowly passed, without them realizing it. Before they knew it, it was already around 10:30, maybe 11 at night. They even had dinner at one of the uncles' houses. And after finishing, it got even later. Then they decided to step outside for a walk. It was almost 1 in the morning. Outside, a light rain was falling. The roads were very narrow, broken muddy paths running beside large water-filled fields and deep canals. Lightning kept flashing across the sky every few seconds, followed by heavy thunder. The atmosphere felt beautiful, but at the same time unsettling. They already had an umbrella with them, so they started walking slowly. As they walked, they kept talking about old family memories. But the wind started getting stronger, so strong that it felt like a storm could come at any moment. Every time lightning struck, the entire area lit up for a moment, and those flooded fields looked almost unreal in that light. Cold wind kept brushing past them. After some time, the rain suddenly stopped. The wind also slowed down, but lightning and thunder still continued. Then suddenly, Mansour felt something strange. A very cold wind touched his body. But the strange thing was, there was no wind around him. He stopped walking for a moment. A strange fear started building inside him. But then he thought, maybe it was just leftover cold from the rain. So he ignored it and kept walking. After some time, they reached a large pond. The place looked beautiful during lightning flashes. The water looked endless, reflecting the entire sky. Mansour and his brother-in-law stood there for a long time, talking. By then, the wind had almost completely stopped. The night was very quiet, but very dark. It was around 2 in the morning. That's when Mansour started feeling uncomfortable. He couldn't explain it, but something felt wrong. Very wrong. He looked at his brother-in-law and said, "I don't know why, but I'm feeling really uneasy here." His brother-in-law replied calmly that they would leave soon. They stayed a little longer, even though neither of them really wanted to leave immediately. But suddenly, Mansour saw something that changed everything. From inside the pond, something started coming toward them. A very tall figure. Extremely tall, around 60 to 70 feet. It was wearing a long white robe. Mansour froze instantly. He started screaming and grabbed his brother-in-law tightly. He said, "Look, someone is coming from the water." His voice was shaking completely, but his brother-in-law looked confused because he couldn't see anything. To him, there was only darkness and water, but Mansour could clearly see it. That huge figure, slowly moving closer. Mansour started crying out of fear. At first, his brother-in-law thought he might be imagining things, but Mansour's fear was real. So his brother-in-law started reciting prayers quietly, trying to calm him down. Then he said, "We are leaving right now." And they quickly started walking away from the pond. Now everything felt even more terrifying. The road was completely empty. No people, no houses nearby. Only darkness, wind, and thunder. After a while, light rain started again. They kept walking fast toward the house. Since the old village house was empty, there was nowhere else to go. The road was muddy, making it hard to walk. Rain was getting heavier again. Wind started increasing. Lightning kept striking again and again, and thunder echoed everywhere. By now, it was around 3 a.m. Then they saw a man coming from far away, slowly walking toward them. At first, they felt a little relief. They thought maybe they could walk together. They waited for him. The man walked very slowly, almost unusually slow. When he came closer, Mansour noticed something strange. He was wearing a long robe and something on his head, but he had no umbrella. Even in heavy rain, he was completely soaked, yet walking calmly. Mansour's brother-in-law greeted him politely and said, "Hello, sir, how are you?" But the man didn't reply, not a single word. He just walked past them, silently. Mansour and his brother-in-law turned back, looking at him, and then they saw something terrifying. The man's body was slowly disappearing, turning into smoke and mixing with the wind and rain. Mansour started screaming again. There was no one nearby, no help. This time, even his brother-in-law became scared. He immediately started reciting prayers again and told Mansour not to look back. They started walking as fast as possible, but the muddy road, rain, and fear made everything harder. They kept slipping, almost falling several times. Mansour kept thinking about that tall figure near the pond. He kept feeling like something was behind them, following them. Every few seconds, he would turn back, but there was nothing, only darkness. Wind through bushes made strange sounds, making everything worse. By now, both of them were completely exhausted. Even in the cold rain, they were sweating. Their hearts were pounding hard. Their throats felt dry. They had never felt fear like this before. Finally, after what felt like forever, they reached the house around 4 in the morning. Everyone inside was asleep. They knocked loudly on the door. After a few moments, someone opened it. The moment they entered, both of them collapsed in exhaustion and fear. Mansour's sister quickly gave them water and asked what happened. Slowly, they explained everything. Everyone became shocked. They gave them holy water and prayed over them. After some time, everyone went to sleep. That night, Mansour, his sister, and his brother-in-law slept in the same room. But suddenly, Mansour woke up screaming, very loudly. Everyone woke up instantly. He was shaking badly. He said he saw that same tall figure again in his dream, coming toward him from the pond. His family tried to calm him down again, realizing how deeply traumatized he was. And the next morning, they took him to a church pastor for help. This happened on a hot summer night many years ago. Ethan Carter was finally getting a few days off from work. His cousin, Ryan, who lived in Savannah, Georgia, had been calling him constantly, insisting that he come visit. Ryan's wife, Olivia Carter, also kept calling Ethan again and again, almost pressuring him in a playful but annoying way. Ethan had studied at New York University, and during his college years, Olivia had been in a different department. Over time, she had married Ryan, and now both of them were settled in Savannah, Georgia, because of their jobs. Ethan, however, was still unmarried, and lately he had a strange feeling that he might not stay that way for long, like something was slowly pulling him toward it. Because of the constant pressure from Ryan and Olivia, Ethan finally took a few days off from work. He called them and said, "I'm coming to Savannah tomorrow night." Everything was planned carefully. That evening after dinner, his mother came to him as usual, giving him long warnings about travel, safety, and life. Then she handed him a small protective amulet. Ethan looked at it and gave a small smile. "Mom, people don't believe in this kind of thing anymore." His mother replied calmly, "I don't care what people believe. You're taking it with you." He didn't argue further. He simply put in his bag. Later that night, Ethan and his driver Marcus Hale got into the car. It was around 9 p.m. when they left New York City. The city lights slowly faded behind them as the highway stretched into darkness. It was a full moon night, strangely calm, almost too calm. Ethan sat in the front passenger seat while Marcus drove steadily. Only the sound of the engine filled the silence. Sometimes they talked a little, but mostly the road kept them quiet. After some time, Marcus played a music CD. Soft music filled the car as they drove deeper into the night. Around 11 p.m., Marcus said, "Sir, we'll reach the river ferry point soon." They crossed a large river ferry in New Jersey, carrying the car across a wide, calm river under the moonlight. The water looked almost unreal, glowing under the reflection of the moon. Marcus said, "Sir, look at that. Beautiful, isn't it?" Ethan nodded quietly, staring at the water. After crossing the river, they continued on the highway again. Occasional headlights of other vehicles appeared far away, but mostly it was empty road and darkness. Ethan slowly leaned back in his seat. His eyes felt heavy. The road noise, the music, and the motion of the car started blending together. Then suddenly, Marcus slammed the brakes. Hard. The car jerked violently. Ethan immediately woke up. "What happened, Marcus?" Marcus' voice was tense. "Sir, it's not my fault. There's someone standing there." Ethan quickly looked ahead. At first, he saw nothing but darkness. Then slowly he saw her. A woman, around 20 or 22 years old, standing right in the middle of the highway in rural Virginia, holding a small child in her arms. It was around 1 a.m. She was wearing a white sari-style dress. One end of it was dragging on the wet road. Her hair was messy. Her face was covered in tears. Ethan opened the car door and stepped out slowly. "What are you doing standing here like this?" he asked carefully. The woman looked at him and cried, "Please help me. My husband is going to kill me. I ran away. My father's house is just ahead. Please, let me sit in your car for a while." Ethan frowned. "Look, you can't just stop random cars on the highway. Move aside." But suddenly, The woman grabbed his leg, still holding the baby tightly. She begged again. From inside the car, Marcus said, "Sir, there's space in the back seat. Let's just help her. Her house is nearby." Ethan hesitated for a moment. Then finally he said, "All right, get in, just until your house." The woman quickly got into the back seat, holding the baby. The car started moving again. Silence filled the vehicle. No one spoke. Minutes passed, but something felt wrong. Too quiet. Then Ethan remembered. She had said her house was nearby, but she hadn't said anything since getting in. He slowly looked at the rearview mirror. At first, nothing. Just darkness. Then he looked carefully again and froze. Two glowing red eyes were staring directly back at him. Ethan's body went cold. He blinked and looked again. The woman in the back seat was now holding the child strangely, upside down. Ethan's breathing got heavier. He couldn't move. Then slowly, the woman tilted her head up and smiled. A disturbing, unnatural smile. In the mirror, Ethan saw her begin tearing the child apart. Slowly, horribly, blood started covering her face. But Marcus kept driving, completely unaware. Ethan's hand started shaking. He didn't know what to do. Scream, stop the car, or stay silent. Then the woman slowly looked straight into the mirror again. And this time, she wasn't smiling anymore. She was staring directly at Ethan, with glowing red eyes.